You know, it's pretty amazing how a single piece of paper can divide an entire nation. And that's exactly what's happening in Zambia. A brand new law, known as Bill 7, has just been signed. But here's the thing, it's not just changing the Constitution, it's changing the whole conversation. So, let's dive in and break down what's really at stake here.
So what is it about this law that's causing such a huge stir? I mean, why is it split opinions right down the middle? That is the big question, right? And is exactly what we're going to get into today.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. First things first, what is Bill 7 anyway?
Okay, so a good way to think about a country's constitution is like, it's the operating system, right? The fundamental code. Well, Bill 7 is like a major software update for Zambia. And I want to be clear, this isn't just some small patch or a minor tweak. No, this is a full-blown amendment to the highest law in the land. It literally changes the rules of how the country is.
Now, if you ask the government, they'll tell you the goals are pretty straightforward. They say it's about making governance more efficient, patching up some legal loopholes, and just making the whole process for elections and governing a lot smoother. So on paper, it all sounds like a big improvement.
And hey, make no mistake about it, this isn't just some proposal being debated anymore. This is a done deal. It is already passed in Parliament and the President has signed it. So Bill 7 is now officially the law of the land.
So that brings us to the big question. Why? Why did the government push this through? Let's take a closer look at their official case for making such a significant change. Well, when the president put pen to paper, the official justification really came down to three main pillars. First, strengthening democratic institutions. Second, improving service delivery for the average citizen. And third, promoting more stability and continuity in how the government operates.
So, long story short, the government is framing this as a really necessary modernization. Their argument is, look, constitutions can't be stuck in the past. They need to evolve. And they're positioning Bill 7 as Zambia's big step into the future.
But, and this is a big but, as you can imagine, not everyone is popping champagne over this update. Far from it. This has ignited a fierce nationwide debate and has pretty much split the country into very, very different camps. Yeah, when you really look at this whole debate, you see there are three main players at the table. You've got the supporters, of course, you've got the critics, and then you have this interesting third group, civil society, legal experts, kind of watching from the middle. So let's break down what each of them are saying.
Okay, so on one side, you have the supporters. They see Bill 7 as a way to just cut through all the bureaucratic red tape. They truly believe it's going to streamline the government, get rid of some legal confusion, and at the end of the day, help Zambia move forward. For them, it's all about practical progress.
But then, on the complete other side of the aisle, you have the critics, and they are sounding the alarm, loudly. They're really worried that these changes could concentrate way too much power in the executive branch, the presidency. And that could mess with the delicate balance of power between the president, the parliament, and the courts. Plus, they argue that a change this massive needed way more public debate, especially with elections right around the corner. The timing for them is a huge concern.
And then you've got that third group, the civil society organizations. They're kind of acting like a referee in all this. See, they're not so much focused on what's in the bill, but how it all happened, the process. They're calling for more transparency, and they're demanding real safeguards to protect those checks and balances that are just, absolutely essential for any healthy democracy.
Okay, so I get it. We're talking about constitutional law, and that can feel really abstract. You might be wondering, why should I care about this? How does this actually affect my daily life? Well, let's connect the dots.
The thing is, the link is actually super direct. Think about it. The Constitution, it sets the rules for everything. It decides who leads the country and, crucially, how we hold them accountable. Bill 7 just changed those rules. And whenever the fundamental rules of the game change, well, that's when being an informed, engaged citizen matters more than ever.
This whole situation is such a powerful reminder of something really important. Democracy isn't just about showing up to vote every few years. It's a continuous conversation. It's this ongoing process of informed debate, of asking the tough questions, and just staying engaged, especially when the very rules of the game are being rewritten.
So, what's next? With Bill 7 now the law, it feels like Zambia is entering a totally new, unwritten chapter of its history.
The focus is really shifting now to some pretty big questions, like how are these changes actually going to be implemented on the ground? Are the concerns raised by the critics ever going to be addressed, maybe in future reforms? And, probably the most important question of all, how will citizens and institutions hold their leaders accountable under this new system?
Because really, at the end of the day, this whole entire debate boils down to one simple, incredibly powerful idea. The Constitution belongs to the people.
And so that leaves us with one final crucial question. Yes, the law has been passed, the ink is dry, but the debate? Oh, that is far from over. The real question now is this. In this new Zambia, under these new rules, how will the people's voice be heard? And you know, that's a question not just for Zambians, but really for all of us to think about.